President Trump is acutely aware that the economy has been suffering as a result of this. Economy sounds like some data point. What that really means is real people are suffering. People that can't go to work, people that aren't getting a paycheck, people that are struggling, making sure they can pay their bills. So one of the things the president does is he turns to certain people that he trusts, that he's comfortable with, and he seeks their counsel, their advice on various topics, including on the restarting of the economy. One of the people that he has chosen to work on the economy and that he trusts very much from the great state of Arizona, Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
There's two components that are key in this whole battle against coronavirus. And the first, obviously, is the health and well-being of the public. There's many ways we appear to be doing pretty well and turning the corner on that. But the other challenge is the economy. President Trump has certain members of Congress that he's more comfortable with than others. And you're one of the folks that he has turned to. Explain to me what the role is, how that is going to work, and what the initial job is as we try to get the economy back up and jump-started.
Well, yeah, it's a great question. So what we've done is we've had, we're like everybody else. We're not meeting face-to-face except for in real small groups. And if I'm going to see the president, I get tested for coronavirus immediately. So, but everything else is by phone. So we've had conference calls by phone to discuss where we are in the economy, to discuss ideas for opening up, and we've been very specific about our states, our regions, and what we're hearing on the ground. And that's what we've done. We've communicated that to the president and to the administration, saying, look, we've got this problem or this or something's happening here as a result of the CARES Act or whatever it may be. And we keep that dialogue going and information so the president can use his bully pulpit to try to get these governors to begin opening up states, which some are. Some are getting ready to open up.
How big is the scope of the economic problem?
It's massive. It's first of all, it tells us that how complex a free market economy is, because our supply chains we haven't even seen the full damage that some of the supply chains have had to them as a result of the massive amounts of unemployment and the downturn in demand. So, for instance, one of the things that you saw is production of oil, and we've seen just in the last few days, as the other day as I'm watching, and you see the plummet in the price of oil. Why? Because they're producing at the same levels, but the demand is down unbelievable, right. And so there's no place to go with the oil. So this is why it's so big that supply chains have been distorted remarkably.
You are famously conservative. You are very cautious. You think government should have a limited role in general terms. What should the government's role be here? What does the federal government need to be doing, and what are its limits?
Well, the first thing, we can be talking about the constitutional rights that have been really encroached upon over this as well. But I would say that the federal government needs to be not just a cheerleader. It should be moving on policies to get out of the way. So we should be talking about the tax burdens and policies that also are going to remain a hindrance as we open up the economy. We should be talking about the regulatory environment, which we've seen a lot of regulations being eased during this period. Well, if you can ease them during an emergency, perhaps they're unnecessary altogether. And they're preventing us from getting everything from the material we need to the testing kits we need, all of the drugs and pharmaceuticals that might be helpful here. So we need to step back from that. The other thing we should do is we should make sure that the states and local jurisdictions also are freed up to do what they need to do. They're better on the ground. They know what's happening in their states far better than the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. I guarantee you that. And we should get out of their way as well.
You mentioned just a minute ago the impact of oil, the price dropping. That has an impact on almost every human being in the United States. But at the other end of that spectrum, We have small business owners. We have the laid off employee. There's people out there who are just plain scared. And because there are no specific answers just yet, it increases that fear. Do you have any particular advice for those folks?
Yeah, I would say, look, we need to be optimistic because we know who we are. We are a free people. We are a responsible people. We are thoughtful people. We are creative and ingenious. We are the world leaders. And while it's complex and these things can bring concern and worry, I hope that Americans are optimistic, because I'm optimistic. Where we are is a difficult situation. Let's not ever sugarcoat this. This is we went from having one of the best economies we've ever seen to immediately into a pre-depression, and we've got to realize we come out of these things. We come out of these things through American ingenuity, hard work, faith, faith in God, faith in each other, faith in the freedoms that we believe in. I believe in that, and I as I talk to people, I see people who are concerned. But the more we talk about who we are and put this in perspective, the more confident we can become, and the more successful we will be at restoring our economy and our way of life the way we understand it.
You mentioned the economy was just flying before COVID-19 hit. I mean, it was firing on all cylinders, shall we say. It was really going. What's a realistic estimate? Can we get back? And I think I hear you saying, yes, absolutely, we can get back to a strong economy. We're the United States. But what's a realistic timeline? How long does it take us to get that engine into first gear, second gear, all the way up to fifth gear again?
It's going to take some time. I mean, let's be honest about this. I think that we need to just be calling this what I hope that it will be, and that's the great American comeback. Because when you start thinking about it, we were great. Our economy was great, and would have been great for the foreseeable future because the foundation was so solid. And what we can do is we can incentivize the supply chains to come back to America. As that happens, we may have lost some jobs permanently. We just may have. That's what happens in a massive restructuring of your economy like this. But we need to realize that it's also an opportunity to provide the incentives to come back into this country for manufacturers that have gone offshore, so we can provide the structures that are there. And it's going to take some time. I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. I'm just going to be truthful, transparent, and also optimistic, because I believe we can get it back. But it's going to take some hard work, and it'll happen. It will happen.
Last question before I let you go. Different tragedies happen, every 20 years, 30 years. We have things that are overwhelming. I think of 9/11, and I think the way the country came together, not only the people, but Congress. Democrat, Republican, didn't matter. Young, old, didn't matter. Black, white, didn't matter. Americans were Americans. I'm not sure I see as much of that happening here. We're clearly under attack. It's a different enemy. It's not a terrorist. It's a virus. But is it just me, or is an awful lot of politics still being played in the midst of this?
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that statement. I have found it very unfortunate. From the very start, the president has given very specific requests to Congress, for instance, saying, look, we need X, Y, and Z to accomplish what we want to accomplish. Please get it done. We have seen consistently feet dragging so that they can get different programs in. We've had people say, literally, this is an opportunity for us to remake America into the image of what we want it to be, a progressive image. That is really unfortunate. I would say the other thing that has really made this more difficult is we now have in place this superstructure for a more socialist, centralized government than at any time in history, and that's just through the way things have evolved over time. And so some people are trying to use that structure to actually make us more of a socialist nation, make it more of a centralized economy, more of a centralized a place where there's more authoritarianism out there. And that is really one of the problems. So not only do we have to fight to get the economy open and respect people's rights and their health, we have to fight a cadre of folks who are trying to change the very underpinnings of the essence of the United States of America.
Andy Biggs, the people of Arizona are lucky to have you, and we appreciate you taking the time with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Be safe.